Well, good evening. It's Cat Sticker here at Soul Shift Thursdays, and I am coming to you today with the topic of autoimmune hacks. Now, I know a lot of you guys have maybe autoimmune conditions. A lot of people have them. There are over 80 identified autoimmune conditions. And I have an autoimmune condition. They tend to run in families. So I know my mother has one, my sister, myself, and my father had one too. So we're all over that inheritance of the autoimmune conditions. If you don't know what an autoimmune condition is, it's where the body's like attacking itself, like giving you too much immunity, or you have super immunity, and it's really instead of helping you, it's really hurting you. So we want to try to avoid flare-ups of autoimmune conditions when possible. Some autoimmune conditions, here's some common ones now. Like I said, there's over 80 different autoimmune conditions that have been identified, but some of the more common ones that you hear about are lupus, psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, celiac disease, Hashimoto's, type 1 diabetes, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, can't say it, uveitis, scleroderma, ankylosing spondylitis, endometriosis, and myocarditis. There's several kinds of myocarditis. So when we look at autoimmune conditions, we want to try to think of ways that we can avoid flare-ups of those, because they tend to come and go instead of just staying at the same level all the time. For instance, mine went into remission for years and years. And sometimes I just have like a little bit of a flare up, or sometimes I'll get a terrible, huge flare up that takes a long time to get rid of. I might even have to go to the doctor for. Some people have flare ups so bad they have to be on biologic medicines, which can be really harsh on the body, and those lower your immunity and put you at risk for getting something even worse, that like a cold could kill you because it destroys your immunity being on those drugs. I was on one for a short period of time because my condition worsened so badly that I finally thought it would be worth it to get on that. But those drugs are really expensive, and I didn't stay on it long, just enough until it went into remission. Then I got off of it. I was on Humira for psoriatic arthritis, and it worked like a miracle. But who wants to be on these dangerous drugs all the time? Wouldn't it be great if we could do a few things that could keep our flare-ups from flaring up? Hi, Sharon. I'm so glad to see you too, or hear from you, anyways. Um, so, I'm not going to be asking people if they have autoimmune conditions. That's your private health information. But if this is of interest to you, or you know someone, most people either have an autoimmune condition or know someone who has one. Um, this could be a good show for you to watch to get some ideas. And so that I have four main categories of hacks or tips, and there's a handout for this that I posted in the Soul Shifters Guild Facebook group, and I just posted it earlier today. It's a PDF, a 4-page PDF that follows along with this presentation. I'll share my screen for that a little bit later. But let's talk about the first one, which is diet considerations. And diet considerations really covers a lot of things, because you may not need to be on a special diet for your autoimmune condition, but you may want to avoid certain foods. Now, certain things like celiac disease, that's where you have you get the flare-ups from the gluten. And I've tried going off gluten. I'm not celiac, but I've tried going off gluten just to try to go on this this detox diet that was eliminating all allergenic type foods and then adding them back slowly to see if I was allergic to anything. And it was really hard to do without gluten. That stuff's in everything. It's in breads and cereals and anything made with grain. So it was hard to go gluten free. But there are a lot of products at the store nowadays that are gluten free. However, those are pretty expensive. So the best thing for all the autoimmune conditions is whole foods. Where you get into a lot of issues is where you're consuming a lot of sugar and processed foods. Those can flare up your autoimmune conditions. Also, things like trans fats. Trans fats are in a lot of junk food, like I don't want to call out any brand names, but like the little snack cakes and just a lot of the fried foods that are bagged. You'll probably find trans fats in many of those hydrogenated oils. Those are not really good for autoimmune. Anything that's junk food, anything that tastes good, that's going to be in the no list, right? So you want to try to go for the fresh fruits and vegetables. What's some of the foods that are really good to prevent flare-ups, eating the whole foods, and then things with certain types of oils like avocados are really good because and using avocado oil, using olive oil. Um, how the Mediterranean diet, that's really been known for good for heart health. It's also good for preventing autoimmune disease or avoiding it anyway. Also, tomatoes. And I would have thought tomato would have been an allergen because I remember tomatoes were one of the foods I couldn't eat on the allergen diet, but I guess it's not. It's supposed to be actually good for the autoimmune conditions. Tomatoes was one of the ones that was on the good list. But you want to avoid starchy foods like potatoes. So I made a short list, and let me see if I can share my screen here and share that list with you. Here it is. Oh, hold on. Okay. I am sharing. Great. All right. So this is just the four categories I'm going to go over today. But when you get down to foods that fight and whoops, I'm trying to adjust the size a little bit. Foods that fight inflammation. Leafy greens. Oh, I almost forgot about the leafy greens. Leafy greens are good for just about everything. Chock full of vitamins, antioxidants, things like that. Green tea the same way. And then, salmon and tuna have a certain kind of oil in there, and you can take like fish oil supplements. Those are all pretty good for autoimmune conditions. And then pineapple. Did you know pineapple's an anti-inflammatory fruit? And so that tends to be really good for that. I actually am a little bit sensitive to pineapple personally, but it's delicious. And then raw honey. So honey contains propolis. Propolis is like the pollen that the bees bring in, and the propolis is good for balancing immunity. And so if you have a low immunity, it helps build it up, and if you have too much immunity, it helps to balance it out. So raw honey is really good. And then here are some of the inflammatory foods to avoid. Oh gosh, the alcohol. If you drink, that's really going to aggravate. Especially if you drink a lot, it's going to really aggravate any autoimmune condition. It's going to cause inflammation. And I didn't know that about the smoked meat before I wrote this up into a little packet. But smoked meat's really bad on a lot of levels because of the carcinogens. They also tend to if you eat too much smoked meat and barbecue and stuff like that, that starts lending itself to cancer. Also, sugar is one of the triggers that can feed cancer. So sugar is always going to be bad. And I put sugar in subs, that substitutes. Sugar substitutes are also really bad for autoimmune conditions. And then any kind of refined carbohydrates and dairy, things that are normally people tend to be allergic to. Those kind of things are not good for it too. And corn. Now, corn, I I believe that corn is an allergen because of most of it's that GMO, genetically modified type corn that's sold at the store. I'm not sure if you grew just um, some of the non-GMO corn, if that would be less allergenic. Probably would. All right, so I do have some comments here. I'm going to see about who's saying what. All right, so Tori, hey Tori, you're allergic to potassium, so you can't even get the COVID vaccine. Oh no. I didn't realize that had potassium in it. So yeah, I think that you have to be aware of what your body's sensitive to. And that's another thing. So on these autoimmune conditions, if you've had it a long time, you should know what triggers your flare-ups. Is it stress? Is it your food? There's certain things you'll know after. You need to be aware of what is causing you to have a worse time of it, what causes you more pain. And you can just observe, oh, well, every time I eat sugary snacks or drink, I get a flare up, or my flare up's worse and I get a lot of pain in this part of my body. Like, you'll notice over time. I know what my triggers are. And quite honestly, I haven't had that many problems with food, but I think right now I'm having a little bit of a flare up of mine, and I think that I should be watching my diet better because of that, because I don't want that to be a reason that it gets worse. Now, also on foods, I have this list of herbs because, I deal a lot with herbs, and they tend to be like miracles for alleviating symptoms of a lot of different issues. And there are some herbs that are really good for balancing immunity, and there are other herbs that are known for boosting immunity that you don't want to boost your immunity for the autoimmune condition. And so I have this list of some of those herbs that you want to avoid. And, you'll see these like herbal supplements that are for boosting immunity, and they'll have a lot of these herbs in there, like the golden seal and the ignatia and elderberry, things like that. So those ones are definitely going to boost your immunity. If you don't have an autoimmune condition, you want that to, have a stronger immunity to avoid colds and stuff. But if you want, if you have an autoimmune condition, you might want to go to this top list here, the ones that help balance immunity. Things like turmeric, sort of a miracle spice, if you will, and garlic. Those are two of the best ones, turmeric and garlic. So, and I know people speak really highly of the ashwagandha as well. So those are things you might want to try. Some of these are just readily available in your grocery store. I mean, rosemary, turmeric, find them on the spice aisle. And ginger, just add a little bit of that to your food, or into your tea, and see if that doesn't help. All right. So Sharon says, try almond, coconut, and flax milk. Yeah, so we gave up cow milk a long time ago. I'm really sensitive to dairy, especially milk, just drinking milk. It messes with my digestive system. So I've been on almond milk a long time, and there was this almond cashew blend by Silk that was really delicious, and they just seem to have taken it off the shelves here. And so I went to like a straight cashew milk. Almond milk doesn't taste that great to me. Michael tried like some kind of oat milk, I think. What was your favorite milk, Michael? I don't see how they can get away with calling these products milk, though. They don't taste anything like milk. But they do substitute good. You can cook with them and drink it with your cereal and everything. Hey, Dash. Hi, Chris. What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, and so some of those milk substitutes, the nut milks, they do have a lot of protein in them. And so you're not missing out on your protein with those. So I think that it's really good to just try some of these out. Now, again, with nuts, so some people are allergic to nuts. If you're allergic to nuts, obviously you don't want to go with anything with nuts. But if you're not allergic to nuts, I didn't put it on the list of good foods, but a lot of nuts do have those kind of good oils that are good for the autoimmune conditions. All right, so I did want to go over. Let me see here. The next thing on here, on this list. So let me go back to my little banner. So the next thing we want to consider is controlling our stress levels. And too much stress is really a big trigger for most people with these autoimmune conditions. If you are under a lot of pressure, or you have something tragic happen, or just something that really messes with your stress levels, and you feel really sad, like for instance, whenever I used to get upset and I would cry, the next day I would wake up and I would have, like, my body would be covered in new outbreak of psoriasis just from one day of crying. If it was like not just a little bit blue, but like a super stressful cry, like something really bad happened. And it can just trigger your autoimmune condition just like that, and you'll have a huge flare-up. So in order to control stress, one of the main things that you want to do is make sure you're getting enough sleep, because sleep is when your body repairs itself. And I know I've said this a million times on here about, not just about autoimmune, but sleep is important for your body in any case. But especially if you have autoimmune condition, you want to have enough sleep to let your body repair itself. Brain fog is one of the main symptoms of autoimmune conditions. I think they all have that in common. That brain fog is terrible. I've been through this where you just feel like you're walking around in a fog. You can't think straight. You get distracted. You're tired. You're so tired. And you can feel kind of confused. And this can be somewhat alleviated by getting enough rest, because you need more rest when you have a flare-up. Also, there was this one time that I was not getting enough rest because I had had a baby, and this baby would not sleep for 2 years. I would not sleep through the night, and I was getting up all hours of the night feeding this baby, and he was crying. He had a lot of nightmares and night terrors and things like that. So I was on and I was working full time. So I was on about 4 hours of sleep a night, and that sleep was broken. And that's when really I learned about my autoimmune condition. I had always had psoriasis, but I had not had a flare-up of psoriatic arthritis before. And that's when all the bad stuff started happening, when I wasn't getting enough sleep. And lo and behold, it manifests in the body in that way. So please get sleep. Also, connection in nature is really important. And not everyone can get out all the time, especially if your weather is really bad. It's been raining here for weeks now. In the winter, some places it's so cold, below zero, you don't really want to go outside. But have some connection with nature. The more you can have, the better. The more time you can spend outside with the elements, the the better that you're going to be able to transmute the energy that's causing you stress. And so this is very important to have that connection with nature. And so even if you can't be there physically with the trees outside, you can bring in some plants into your home, some live plants. You can just connect with the elements of water. You can do some meditation with that in regard to that. And also meditation is what I would consider, part of the self-care. Meditation is a really good tool for alleviating anxiety, for grounding, for getting back to who you truly are, to aligning with who you are at soul level. And when you do that kind of self-care, that does help manage anxiety, right? Practice grounding techniques if you suffer from anxiety, because anxiety is going to be another trigger for your autoimmune condition. Also, overcommitting. How many people overcommit? There's all these things you want to do and all these things you have to do. And when you sign up for too many things, like for me, I don't really have a problem saying no. I can say no. It's just that I tend to have things build up over time. Like I'll say yes to one thing, and then, I want to do this other thing, so I'll sign up for that. And then down the road, I want to do another thing. And before you know it, I've signed up for too many things. And I'm like, oh no, now I can't manage my time as well. And it creates a lot of stress and pressure. So when you find yourself overcommitted, start backing out of those obligations that you've put yourself in. Some of the things, maybe you can save them for later. And take some of that pressure off you, because when you have an autoimmune condition, you have to take care of yourself. And that is part of that, is making sure that you have the time to do the things you need to do for yourself, like sleep, meditate, alleviate that stress, and not have to be rushing from one thing to the next all the time and have all these deliverables that are on a deadline that are going to stress you out. That's what I think. And I know that it's easier said than done, you guys. I'm the same way. I don't want to miss anything. And there's always like, these classes that are coming up, but then all of a sudden the kids get enrolled in a bunch of sports activities and I have to go to that too. And then, it's always like there's so many things going on. And then something unexpected comes up and kind of tips the apple cart. And so then I'm like, oh no, I have so much to do now. I can't get it all done. And then things start deteriorating rapidly after that. Here you start going into that spiral. So make sure that you're able to control your stress levels. I'm going to stop sharing the screen because I think I'm out of those slides. And then the last couple of things I have, this infection resolution. So what that means is there are certain infections like chronic Lyme disease that you may not know that you have, or maybe there's a chronic infection in your gut. Well, where your gut is, or in your gut, that is where a lot of your immunity lies. And if you have an infection and your good gut bacteria are trying to attack that infection, it can flare you into autoimmune conditions. So you may not know you have an underlying infection. So one of the things that's suggested by experts is that you get checked for infections that may be flaring up your autoimmune conditions if you have one. And the final thing, extra fries? No, exercise. That's right, exercise. we want to make sure that we are getting a proper amount of exercise. Now, if you have an autoimmune condition, you're most likely pretty tired and you probably don't feel like exercising too much. Or you may have a lot of pain, like with fibromyalgia. Um, there can be a lot of pain associated with that. I get a lot of pain in my spine and in my joints from the arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. So you don't feel like exercising when you're having a flare up. But exercise can actually prevent you from having a flare up. So a lot of this stuff is kind of like we're trying to prevent having the flare up. Um, and then you manage, just take a slow walk or something when you're having a flare up and you don't feel like doing a lot of exercise. And the key is moderation there. If you're overdoing it and you're stressing out your body too much, well, that might cause a flare up too, right? So you just want to have like a normal amount of exercise. Don't overdo it. But exercise actually is a key to modulating, balancing out your immunity. And it's not going to over boost you or under boost. You know how exercise seems to be the cure for everything? It really is. And, practice what you preach. I don't exercise like I should be exercising, but I definitely think that is something that's super important for people with autoimmune conditions because one, it helps to alleviate chronic pain, and two, it helps to balance out that immunity more. Oh, wow. I was noticing I'm looking at my phone to see about like the comments and stuff, and I noticed that there's like little subtitles going across, subtitles going across. I think those subtitles on those things are hilarious to look at because especially if you have a little bit of an accent and they don't get it right. It's so funny. And so I can't wait to see that later. Now, next week, Michael and I are going to be out of town. Guess where we're going? We are headed to Oregon, the great state of Oregon, and we're planning to go down we're going to fly into Eugene, drive down the southern coast, and we're going to look at sea lions. We're going to go whale watching. We're going to look at some lighthouses. We want to potentially do like dune buggy riding on the sand dunes and riding horses on the beach. Those are kind of two activities we saw that look like we might want to do. Also, then we're going to go down into the northern tip of California and go to this beautiful redwood forest. Then we're going to go back up into Oregon, kind of further east, and head to Crater Lake National Park. I've always wanted to go to Crater Lake National Park, and now is my big chance. So there's going to be a lot of beautiful scenery, and I hope to share some of that from our trip with you guys and in the group, in the Soul Shifters Facebook group. If you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, please come join us. You'll get that handout that I showed during this presentation, and also get to see some of those great posts from our trip. When I come back, we'll restart the show. I think I'm only going to be gone for one Thursday, but when we come back, I only have one day to prepare then for the show. So I think I can do it. Next week we'll be on the pillar of mind. This week was the pillar of body. So next week we'll have the pillar of mind. Let me know if you have any special requests for that. Did I say next week? I meant next time, which will be 2 weeks from now. Also, another exciting thing that's going on is I've been working on videotaping segments for a new series that I'm doing called Enchanted Tea Party. And this is a show, it's a little bit focused on herbalism. And as you know, I love working in the garden and working with plants and plant medicine. And so each week will showcase a different herb, and these will be pre-recorded shows, not live, and that way I can like break it up into some segments. So we'll have, for instance, a segment in the garden showing you the actual plants, and doing plant sits where we meditate with the plants. And then we'll have a segment with a tea party where we have like a tea cozy reveal to show you what's the special tea blend made with that featured herb plus some other herbal ingredients, and what those can do for you. What kind of benefits do those herbs have, both for your wellness and just like the magical metaphysical properties of those herbs. What are they good for? What is it traditionally used for? Um, so I think that'll be fun and exciting. Hopefully, I'll have a few guests to some of my tea parties, and we're going to try to make it into a beautiful video series. So I've done some of the videotaping on the first segments of those. I'm expecting to have the rest of that done to roll out by the 1st of July. And the only thing holding me back really has been the weather. Y'all, it has been raining here. It is raining right now. I was going to film I was going to film some of the tea party segments yesterday and today, and it's just raining, 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 raining. So instead, we'll wait till it stops raining. Hopefully this weekend I'll get some more filming done and I can start rolling those out. I'm editing as I go to get it to you as soon as possible. And you can let me know how you like the herbal series, and if you'd like to see a course on that, because I'm thinking of putting together an intuitive herbalism course. And those are some real exciting things I've been working on, and I really appreciate. Oh, Sharon says, take pics, please. Yeah, I'll take lots of pics on the trip, and then watch where. If you're talking about the show, I'll be publishing those Enchanted Tea Parties to our Moonglow Life YouTube channel, and then I'll share those into the Facebook group, the videos when they're ready. So, they'll be coming. I'll let you know how it progresses. And I appreciate everyone watching. Thank you for the well wishes on the trip, Dash. Where Sharon? Yes, where? Yes, we will have. I will post the videos into the Facebook group, so you'll get to see them as soon as they're ready. And I'll try to also put like a schedule, the rollout schedule of what herbs are going to be which weeks too, because I should know that. I should know that coming up. The one that we're working on right now, bringing to fruition, is magnolia. So magnolia is a beautiful tree that is thought of as mainly an ornamental tree. And there's all different types of magnolia trees. You see them, kind of some smaller ones with the pink blooms, and then the ones we have are these huge, giant southern magnolias with the giant white platter-sized blooms, and they're very fragrant. And these are actually have a lot of medicinal value to them. And so I'll be making some little foods with them in addition to the tea. And today my daughter and I made some pickled magnolia petals. And yesterday we made some magnolia syrup. So we'll be using that like during the film of our tea party, when we have the tea party, and we'll have like some foods that we make with the herbs as well. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight, and I will see you next time on Soul Shift Thursdays. Bye.